Writers, directors, producers are above the line. And that refers to what does it refer to? Well, it's probably the shot list and, when they go out on the set, you have a pecking order. And then everybody else is below the line. Writers also, and directors and producers also have an entourage. And I don't know how other people wind up with their entourage, but I can tell you, and that's what we're going to talk about a little bit today, is my entourage. And I had basically 4 people in it. First and foremost probably was Betsy. And Betsy was functioned as a business manager and also as a paramour. And it got very intense with Betsy, and it was, she was quite a special person. But anyway, Betsy was kind of the business manager of it, and kind of watching out for all 4 corners of trouble. How did Betsy wind up inside the Pete scrum? Well, she came and sat next to me at some sort of a seminar that we were attending, and struck up a conversation, and it went from there. But in Hollywood, take a look on your left and your right when you're at a black tie dinner, or if you're at a seminar, or wherever you are, because or behind you, because those people may well have come for you and come to meet you, and they know who you are. You may not know who they are, probably don't, but they know who you are. And Betsy knew exactly who I was. Betsy was a very successful in Hollywood. She had been with Mardik, whatever his name is, who were Raging Bull, and would later say that they almost went over the edge, insane, writing that one, almost won an Academy Award, and Betsy would have been very involved in she was an excellent script person, and probably one of the best that I ever worked with, and very, very dear, and very, very vulnerable, and like Hollywood people, very, very much needy down to her core. She'd been with CBS. She'd been around town for probably 15 or 20 years, and she knew her way around. Now, her function, if you want a good movie or a good look at what it's like to be a writer in Hollywood, take a look at Barton Fink, which is done by the Coen brothers, and there's a character in there, Audrey Taylor. And Audrey Taylor is basically the minder for above the line people. So a director and a producer and a writer, they basically have minders who take care of all extraneous details, like eating, getting you from one place to another, and that allows the creative people to remain within their zone and so forth. So Betsy was the equivalent of Audrey Taylor. And in the movie, by the way, the Audrey Taylor character is looking after Barton Fink, who is a thinly disguised William Faulkner. And so that's a bit of a window. It's Hollywood, so it's not exactly close, but it's in, it's in the suburbs of about William Faulkner in Hollywood. Now, one other thing about Faulkner, which is interesting, because Carl Malden, now gone, famous actor on the waterfront, the streets of San Francisco, a lot of very successful actor, told me that at one point he was sharing an office, I think over on the Paramount lot, with Faulkner. And Faulkner would come in the morning, and he'd sit down and he'd type for about 10 minutes, 15 minutes. Then he'd gather everything up and bam, into the trash can, and then he'd go, and he'd start writing this, whatever he was supposed to be writing, screenplay or, present, whatever. And Malden said he watched all of this, and into the trash can, and then the evening they would come through, and the janitor people would come through, they'd gather all this stuff up, and off it'd go. And Malden said, geez, hello, I should have gathered it all up myself. I'm sitting there with Faulkner, and he's writing all this. What the hell was he writing for 10 minutes or so every morning, or 20, And of course, what he was doing was, this is one of the techniques that Faulkner had, and there are a lot of techniques that writers use, but he was just kind of getting the juices going. So he's just writing crazy. I've done that a time or two. It doesn't work for me, where I just write this stuff, rah, 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 kind of a stream of consciousness, and then the theory is that you settle in and you kind of be writing better stuff, whether you do or not. As for others to decide and know. Anyway, so you got 4 people in the entourage here. Betsy, and then you had probably the really early person and really important was Linda Palmer, former head of production at TriStar, married to a couple of heads of studios. My writing partner, we took stuff to CBS no less than 4 times down to Television City, made presentations, never went anywhere. And then Linda went off and started writing novels, and then she sort of dragooned me over to write the novel Houghton, and she was always in love with the character of Houghton, and kept hello to me and saying, write Houghton and write this trilogy, which I finished a book and dedicated to her after she unexpectedly passed away. She was leaving Hollywood at the time she died, which is in 2014, I think, 2013 maybe, and coming down, and was going to move to Celebration, Florida, which is a town built by Disney, adjacent to Disney World, and in Orlando. And that's where we were living. My wife and I were living down there, and she was going to move on down, and had come down, looked at some real estate, and we'd taken her around. She stayed in our house and in our home for a week or so, and then went back to California and died, early 60s. Lovely lady. Then we come to the agent. With your agent, what you want to do is, and you're wise to tell them, sell it, don't smell it. And your agent, if you let them get off the South 40 and start running around, we'll start telling you how to write scripts, and we'll be telling you, well, I can sell this over at blah blah blah, fill out the and such over here at this agency said, and why don't you throw this scene in? Why don't you do that? And if you get into that, and if you allow your agent to get into that, you're screwed, because they will really mess up your stuff. So anyway, agent made me money. It was a fraught relationship, and we'll tell the inner workings of that relationship perhaps sometime, or perhaps we will allow it to go drift off into the ether and never to be discussed again. And then finally, there's the lawyer, and the lawyer for Burt Lancaster, Elizabeth Taylor, I don't know, a whole bunch of people came over to me when we were at an Austin Film Festival some years ago, and again, he knew who I was, and asked me who was representing me, which at the time nobody was, because you kind of don't need an attorney until you're selling something, and then you can use. Linda looked after that stuff, and she knew the pitfalls. But anyway, he was a good addition. Didn't last all that long, because he kind of showed up at the end of my interest in doing Hollywood, and I moved on to writing books, having gone from screenplays to stage plays to writing books. And so there he was. So that's the entourage. And note here that in Linda, I took a class and we became friends because she saw what I was writing and liked it. And Linda, perhaps only one other person got my stuff like Linda did, and that was Betsy, who was Betsy. So the entourage was, an Audrey Taylor kind of character from Barton Fink, which is Betsy. And then you had the agent, who was an agent. And there, by the way, there's a real question whether they're human or not. I'm not sure. And then you have an attorney who knows the law, and entertainment law is very different from anything else. So you need to have a guy who knows the entertainment law business, or you're going to wind up like some people have who write a book and then it goes and does well, and then somebody comes along and turns it into a TV episode, and they have no downstream ownership that they can assert there, and they should. And that happened at Police Story. Joseph Wambaugh, as I recall, thought he could go on his own. Well, they sheared him, according to the story. And that, let's see, agent, manager, basically, mentor. Linda was the mentor. Betsy was the business manager. The agent was the agent. She's out there hoovering up contacts and setting up meetings. Over the years, I did meetings with 80 different production companies. There were about 100 and 150. And so if they weren't doing porn out in the West Valley, those were about the only guys I didn't meet during that time. And who'd we miss there? Mentor, business manager, agent, and of course the attorney. And note here that I didn't set out to have an entourage. What I did was write a screenplay. It got me into the academy as a fellow, and immediately here come people sitting down next to me at at meetings or luncheons or black tie dinners, and who know who I am, and who want to get to know me, and they want to be on members of the team. And I was very fortunate in that sense because they were all very good people. And Betsy's gone, far too young. Linda's gone, far too young. And by the way, Linda and I and Betsy all, in my case, I had a heart attack the same week that Linda and Betsy died more than 10 years ago. Coincidence? Sure. But a lot of strange stuff goes on around creative people. And we'll talk about each one of these, perhaps. We'll get back to them because all of them Linda and Betsy were very dear to me. No one's dear to an agent, and of course an attorney. The term I use is they eat turf builder for breakfast, and you want your attorney to be your attack dog, and they don't disappoint.